everybody. Welcome to Down South Football Podcast. We have a couple of special guests, as y'all can see tonight. We already have a fifth member in here. This is your boy, Renard Williams. Of course, we have David. We have Mr. Chauncey Tuck, and we have Mr. DJ Double Dose, a.k.a. Ben Dennis, in the house. We have a special guest that's been with us before. This is...
Up and up. Boom.
Who is that?
That you good. You good.
Oh, okay. We have Coach Teddy Keaton. This guy's like a brother to me, and he's a great head coach. He is currently the head coach of Allen University. And Teddy, first of all, I want to tell you congratulations, sir, on your move from NAIA to Division II. I had no doubts that you would get the program to where it needs to be, and all I'm expecting just some great things from you, man. And we just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes today, really about a lot of things that's going on with what I like to call the resurgence of HBCUs, and people talking about it, and people really just want to know more about it, and what the culture that we got going on right now, and just the social climate that we're in. That seems to be pushing a lot of younger kids that are really opening their eyes to HBCUs. I've heard you speak on this before. If you could just speak on a little bit and tell us how you feel about it right now.
Well, obviously, as a head coach and a product of an HBCU, I feel I'm elated about the situation. It's a couple guys that have, really made me like, you got 5-star football players that are actually, really thinking about going to an HBCU. The basketball kid who signed, a lot of guys, I haven't paid a lot of attention to it because, as you know, I've been here 2.5 years and my head has been buried into switching Allen University from NAIA to NCAA, and that is a tedious process, a lot of writing, a lot of the NCAA is made up a bunch of lawyers. So everything that you do, you have to be on top of your game, and when they come to visit you, they have to be able to check your books, your numbers, to make sure everything is where it needs to be. So I think that's where my mind's been, but I have, caught a glimpse of some things from here and there on Twitter, Facebook, and even watching Sports Center and different things like that, just going down and finding things. But I think it's great, but also we have to face a reality too. This wave that we're riding with Black Lives Matter and the social injustice that's going on. Yes, some of the younger kids are picking up on those type things, but until we act upon as alumni and put money back into our schools, fund it, it's still not going to change much because one kid decided to go to the, as I would call it, the A&P instead of going to Publix this week.
Well, that's very true.
It's just a different background. They build these colleges that's mega millions, money that's going through it, the endorsements that, if they pass this thing about kids getting paid, obviously they're going to really run back over to the other side of the fence because obviously, there's more money on that fruit tree than it comes into ours. But I think it's going to change those mid-level guys, those guys that are 3-star, 2-stars that, would normally go sit on the bench at Alabama would decide I will go play at a Allen or a Southern or Alabama State or those places like that. I just want to see how long the wave will ride. It's kind of like a new fad right now. So we'll see if it's a fad or will it really, we really considering Black Lives Matter.
Right. Now, I have another question for you. Since we're talking about everything that's going on with social injustice and everything else, you can't ignore, of course, COVID-19 that's out there. And with you being a head coach, as far as your perspective of, I guess you saw like today, you talking about the MEAC basically canceled their fall sports. Of course, the SEAC did. And, the CIAA is also talking about they're canceling their fall sports. So where are you feeling with your team and as far as a head coach, as far as them being on campus, and are y'all prepared to go ahead and just have the season, or what's your feelings on that subject right there?
No, absolutely not. I do not want to play football. I think you have to put on your family, your father hat, your mom and daddy hat. You got to think about you're taking somebody's kid out of their household. When I sit in their household, I'm going to say that I'm going to protect your kid. Obviously, if the world has got 100,000 deaths, over 100,000,
Right.
and more than any modern day war,
Mm-hmm.
you can't social distance in football. It's going to be 12 people
Yeah, that's impossible.
in a group. It's impossible. I don't even know why we even. Kirk Herbstreit said something a few months back in May that has pissed every SEC fan off, everybody else in the world that was mad at him, which is going to turn around and he's going to be a genius on down the road somewhere that's going to say he said the right thing. We shouldn't play football. It's a dollar amount that's stuck on this that nobody's looking at the human or the moral perspectives of this. When you talk about Georgia opening up and the mayor of Atlanta said we're gonna wear masks, and we come back and the governor say we're not gonna mandate for nobody to wear no mask. But we're
Right.
in a hot spot. Can I put a mask on my football player? Well, what can he breathe running with that mask on? Even
Not
with
at
the
all.
shield that the NFL has put into place, I don't know if that's 100% safe. I read this group called the Long Haulers. There's people, even though they recover from it, they still have symptoms that carry for a long time.
Right.
I just had a real good friend of mine to die from COVID-19. Her name Kim Johnson. She's in Tuscaloosa. She died at 41 years old. I love Kim. Kim has been a part of my life since I started working at Park and Recreations when I was in college. To know that she died from COVID-19 further my agenda to say why I shouldn't put my kids out there to play. If I got a lineman that is 6'4", 6'3", 300 pounds, most of those linemen, when they come to camp, they have some type of underlying
Condition.
asthma, PAPs, heart PAPs, whatever, different things with their lungs and breathing. Okay, if he catches COVID-19, what's the chance of him recovering? I don't know. You don't know. The CDC don't know. The governor don't know. The president don't
Right.
know. Nobody knows.
It's so much in the air. You're right.
So I would rather play on the safe card. Some people say it's fear. No, it's not fear. And then let's talk about the aspect of an HBCU. We don't have the funds to
Correct.
be able to set the guidelines that were laid out by the CDC. And with a football team, as I said before, in each position group, there's at least 14 guys in each position group. So how could you social distance? I'm going to take it a step further. When you go to the residence hall and you put them in a room together, let's just say my starting quarterback catches COVID-19. Okay. In most colleges, you put your quarterbacks in the room together. So here comes Saturday. My quarterback comes up with COVID-19 test is positive.
Right.
Now I don't have a quarterback to play quarterback on Saturday. I think that the Division Ones are really starting to look at it differently than it was back when they made that early onset to say we were going to play. Now, as this trend starts to come along, you see the Big Ten said something. Everybody stopped talking when Herbstreit said what he said because he got ridiculed so bad.
Right.
Now that the Big Ten stepped out and said that we're going to play only conference games, everybody else now is thinking about that scenario. But here, I'm going to throw some salt in your mustard here. What about Notre Dame? What about Notre Dame, who plays no conference games?
Right.
No conference game. They would actually lose money because every game that they would play, they would have to pay some FCS team that would come up and take them $20,000 or $30,000 to take that butt whooping. Okay, my next scenario would, if Notre Dame goes undefeated, which they will, do they have a shot at playing in the bowl game?
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
Swafford, the commissioner, I was going to say the commissioner Swafford from the ACC, he came out and said that he's going to help Notre Dame as much as possible. So meaning he would give because they already play 6 ACC games anyway. So he pretty much basically saying he'd give them another 2 or 3 to give them that 8 or 9 games to complete their season.
And I believe probably USC would probably let them play, even though Pac-12 has the same rules.
Right.
as far as only conference games. So that's still like 10 games, but they still got, like you said, they still got 2 FCS probably they're gonna play. And how that look.
Well, the fundamental issue is what he was talking about is just about where we are with the COVID-19, because we all know, and I'm sure Teddy can co-sign on this, that if we wasn't talking about a big financial impact about these schools relying on an athletic budget, that we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But
Bernard, I'll take it a step further. It's not just the schools that's relying on it. There's workers. There's a lot of money with the tourist industry, the hotel industry. Some cities that are small depend on that university bringing them 5 or 6 home games in there. That's going to pay for a lot of things in their city. So if that ball ain't moving out there,
right?
You talking about a cash cow? You talking about the peanut man, the vending machine people, everybody that make a little bit of change off the police officers,
and definitely the hotels.
Security money. The police officers that make their extra security for being at the game, security companies, everybody, the parking lot people, they're gonna lose a lot of money, and a lot of people could lose their jobs. And the real hit is the TV money, and that's what everybody's trying to get. They want to play the games because the fans want to play the games. And I really don't think that we're human if you say that I'm going to put some kid out there and I got to live with the fact the rest of my life that if one of those kids catch it, they're going to, I'm just saying, God forbid they die. You never live with that. As a coach and with morals, I wouldn't be able to live with that.
Right. I mean, I want to know, like, how is recruiting being from your aspect, like your pitches and to the families and to the kids on how you're dealing with what's going on as far as the COVID-19 stuff? How is recruiting being?
Well, obviously, the high schools think they're invincible or God got a shield. Because recruiting's been going fine. 7-on-7 camps been going. Georgia's starting up football. South Carolina's going to start up football. Alabama's planning on playing football. So all the high schools are really playing football because it's kind of going to be a win-loss situation for those kids. If they don't get to play in the fall, then they're talking about putting it in the spring. It hurts them for their chance to play another sport that they normally would participate in the spring. But if they don't play at all, and let's say they got a guy that's a 5-star on their team that already got all the looks that he was going to get.
Right.
He good. But that guy who just started gaining interest from a university and he hadn't really showed what he needed to show his junior year, now he leaves, his senior year is gone. Now we got to take a chance on it, which would cause him to have to go the junior college route or some smaller school route that he lost out on his opportunity to possibly play for the Power Fives or anybody else that they were possibly taking, because technically recruiting starts his 9th and 10th grade year. So a lot of coaches, as much as they think we don't look, when them kids send them, they send you 11th, they 12th graders, they 9th graders, and you might go down and start watching some 9th graders. And then you make a note somewhere, he's 2025. Let's keep an eye on this kid. And when we go to the school, let's talk to him. Let's see. Now, the Power Fives is done a little bit different. They are after him. His 9th grade year, they're watching everything they can watch. They're seeing what they can see. And they got earmarks, and they got enough recruiting personnel to be able to watch those kids all the way through. Now, what it does for HBCUs is that it's going to open a door that we might be able to get a lot of kids that will fall through the cracks simply because there's not enough tape or enough votes around the table to say, I'm going to take interest in this kid and hope that he be good and I lose my job the next year. That makes sense?
Totally.
Well, that makes 100% sense to me. I will say the other thing that I wanted to bring up to you was,
hey Teddy, I got a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
So
he just cut me off. Yeah, he did cut. It's good. Go ahead, Dave. You good?
Go ahead, Dave. It's your show,
Professor.
Go ahead, Dave. Can you hear me?
Dave's on a 10-second delay, so.
Dave.
Well, I'll wait till.
Dave,
No. I think I have I think I have a lag because I said that like I'm on a 10-second delay.
Boom,
Yeah, he gonna go out,
Boom.
man.
There you go.
Now look. So I'll just go ahead and finish. So my question was more about the social climate that you talk to with your team. Let's just say you will have a season, or you will have somewhat of a season. What is your approach to talking to your team, which is, I guess I would say predominantly African American, about what's really going on with the social climate of today? Like, do you have a message or something that you're going to talk to your team about? Is it going to be more of just a real message of saying, hey, this is where we are, this is what it is, or how will you address that? And then we'll get to Dave's question.
Well, what aspect you talking about? We got a lot of things going on. We got a presidential race going on. We got Black Lives Matter that's going on.
Right.
We got COVID-19 that's going on.
Man.
I need you to be a little bit
I need to rein it in just a little bit.
Can I finish my question, please? more just about, I guess you say more of a racial aspect of more Black Lives Matter. A lot of people, there's a lot of, I'll just say it. A lot of your president you have in office right now has brought a lot of people that have been hiding for a long time. You see videos every day of people just feel, empowered to just go up to someone and just say whatever they want to say and do what they want to do. Some things that some kids in this lifetime have had to deal with, some they have not. But you can just focus on Black Lives Matter. Like, for Black Lives Matter, what would be your message to your team?
But the first thing we're going to talk about is, if Black Lives Matter, you got to make your own life matter. So I always tell my kids, you're a product, or you're a walking poster board of what the world has an image of you. There's eyes that's looking up to be just like you. So I bring in positive people that talk about black on black crime, that talk about robbing, stealing, doing all the things that cause you to be in trouble with the law. But we also talk to the good kids. There's some kids in there that are truly good kids that don't get in trouble, that may have a run-in, and that's why I bring the police in, because you have to establish a relationship with the police so that our kids, they're naturally afraid of the police. I will not say that it doesn't happen. It happens. It's been proven too many times that it does happen. But the only way you can educate your kids to make them understand, I can't ride around with invalid driver's license. I can't ride around and drink and drive. I learned that real quick when I got to Tuscaloosa, and I was 3 days into my job and I got a DUI when a guy could have gave me a pass, but because of who I was, he wanted to make a name for himself. And he did that. So at the end of the day, I tell them, you got to know who you are, who you represent. You represent something bigger than yourself, and you got to make sure that you take care of yourself. At certain times of the hour, your mama told you. Our mama used to say this to us all the time. We was roommates. Because his daddy, Mr. Williams, said it. Ain't nothing open after 12 o'clock but legs in the hospital. So you ain't got no business being out nowhere where you don't need to be at. So if you up late and you're doing things, you ask me how I feel, that's what I talk about. We talk real. We speak truth. We bring situations up. We don't cover them up. We don't sweep them under the rug. We'll talk about the George Floyd situation. We'll talk about everything that happened. The white lady that was in the park who accused the black man who was bird watching. We'll talk about that. I even bring the video up because some of them, our generation of kids that we coach now, don't watch the news. Half of them don't know what's going on. If they don't get it from Twitter or Facebook, they don't know what's going on. So you have to educate them so they'll understand why we fighting for Black Lives Matter.
Okay, hey Dave. Dave.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I'm back.
Can you
I'm
hear
back. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Dave.
No.
Go ahead, Dave. David, go ahead. I want you to get your question.
So
in.
Okay. I was going to ask, but I think we kind of moved past it. I apologize for the delay I had, but I was just going to ask Teddy what, because he was talking about having the season pushed to the spring, meaning like some people talking about the college season being pushed to the spring. What do you think would be the advantage of pushing it to the spring versus in the fall, or
well, what they're thinking about right now, Dave, truthfully, is trying
what would that
to
look
figure
like?
I can't hear Dave. Well, Dave, I'm gonna hear you. I'm gonna try to speak to you as much as I can on this. The spring is just a cushion. If I say we can't play in the fall, and the numbers are where they at right now, let's say we hoping by the spring that things clear up. Everybody wants to play college football. Everybody wants to play high school football. So if we have to play it to give those kids, because even us as college coaches, we have kids that are seniors, fifth-year transfer guys. If they miss that season, this is a lost cause for them.
Right.
So if they had any dreams of going to the NFL, just like a kid who was dreaming to go to college, the NFL is a vision for some of these kids. The CFL is a vision for some of those kids. So we're just trying to keep what we call keep hope alive, that we could possibly still be able to do it. I'm at the table so I can say these things because we talk about them. And I think it has its advantages, but I also, as I stated earlier, has its disadvantages simply because basketball starts in October, November, and then you carry over into March. Okay, for an institution or a high school, you got to think of how much that's going to kill budget-wise, trying to get kids where they got to go, different places. Can I play basketball on Tuesday night when we're not playing, but we got practice for football because we got a game against our rival that weekend? It's a lot of things that's going to cause a lot of confusion unless somebody has to opt out on their season. You got diehard basketball people. You got diehard football people. Both of those sports are revenue-generating sports. So from a college standpoint, it's going to have to be a lot more talk about making that work. But from a high school standpoint, it eliminates the kid being a multi-sport athlete because he's going to have to choose between one or the other.
That's so. I think Dave still had on a little bit of a delay, but I will say everything you're saying 100% is true, and it's definitely going. We got some difficult times ahead in college athletics on all levels. I guess the biggest thing that I was encouraged by was seeing the actual players speaking out, seeing a Chuba Hubbard speaking out about his coach, Kellen Mond speaking out at Texas A&M about the statue. You can't hear? Teddy, can you hear? You can't hear nothing?
I see, Teddy.
No, he can't hear.
Okay. Let me see. Teddy, you there now? He can't hear nothing. He said, but y'all can hear, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear everybody.
Okay.
Hey, y'all hear me now? Am I back?
Yes, sir.
Here?
Yes, sir. You back?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear all y'all now. Dave cut me off because he was having a 10-second
Dave is.
I was gonna say, Teddy, look.
Dave, you got all you wanted out?
Yeah, man. I wanted to kind of touch bases on, and I hate to go backwards, but it was a question that I asked for you earlier in the show. We were talking about.
There you go again.
I don't know what we're gonna do about Dave. But
just give him a second. Hold on.
Dave, you got. I don't know what's going on, but I can't hear Dave.
Dave got that Nelly connection over
Dave,
there.
you need to get you some.
We're gonna get the AT&T guy
Google
to
Nest.
talk to.
They help with your Wi-Fi. They mesh points. You need to get you a couple of them in your house.
Get you a couple mesh points.
When y'all try to record that Gerald Levert new CD.
Dave, don't you do no verses because your connection is terrible.
Now I'm on mute again.
It's Dave's fault. Dave keep putting him in on.
Dave cut me off again.
Yeah. But I can hear you, Ted. Hold on, Ted. I can hear you. You just can't hear me. Dave done cut everybody off again.
He sleep. What are you doing?
I'm gonna put Teddy on mute right now, just until you come back. But go ahead, Tuck.
I was just gonna say, I think Dave's in China somewhere to get that 10-second delay. But I think I think Teddy is doing a great job as far as how he's managing his team and how he's managing the situations that have arose or risen within college football, and this is tough. I mean, hell, dealing with just plain old COVID was going to be tough.
Right.
Like he said, now when you add Black Lives Matter, and then when you add the presidential
I
race,
can't hear Tuck. I hear Dave. Dave, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear everybody right now.
I hear everybody.
I
I hear
don't
you,
hear
Teddy.
everybody. I just hear you.
wow,
Wow.
okay,
So Dave is the problem.
Yeah,
Dave
man.
we've always known they was a problem, but
yeah.
Well, hold on. Let me see if I can do this.
He don't wave the white flag.
Hey, he don't wave the white flag.
He don't wave the white flag.
Hold on. Let me see. I removed Ted. Let me see if I add him back if he can get back in here.
There we go.
Can you?
I hear you now. That's Renard.
Yeah. What's up? Can you hear me? He can't hear.
so you
nothing.
can't hear Tuck.
What about me? You can't. I know you can't hear me.
I can hear you, Dave.
Well, I feel like y'all
You all
connected.
I can hear.
Well, you know what, Dave? Ask your question then. Why is a good connection? Ask your question, Dave.
Yeah, let me hurry up. Okay, so here's my question. We were talking about the kids that will probably go to the traditional PWIs now, considering the HBCUs. What do you think about the theory? I had kind of a theory that I think this movement would be more prevalent in basketball than in football, because in basketball, for that one and done kid, it may not really matter because that kid is going to go where he's going to go regardless. Where football, you may have to sit 2, 3, 4 years. So I think the movement or the push is going to be more prevalent in basketball than football to start.
You're absolutely correct, and we've talked about it from a football standpoint. You're absolutely correct. It's a different mechanism. It's different boundaries. It's just, I think you're right. You're dead on. It's going to be more basketball players than it will be football players. And a kid want to play on ABC, CBS, and ESPN. You know, black schools play on Revolt, you know, and some channel that's 349 on your TV station. So They don't want to play on that. They want to play on that channel where at 7 o'clock they can be on prime time at 1 o'clock, and it's just what it is. In basketball, like you said, they go out there, they get to play a game. They're going to be the most dominant player on the court. They're going to bring more attention to it. But football, you might get out there and he sit there 2 or 3 years, and they say his skill level, he didn't play against enough quality competition or whatever, and now he loses his chance to be able to go on to the next level. There's a lot of things that's got to happen in the football world in terms of this moolah money. It's got to come into it in order for it to become a more marketable in facilities in itself. I have some nice facilities here at Allen University, but of course, we built them ourselves, but a lot of black schools are outdated. You know, when you go into them, they're very outdated. Kids get looks at bells and whistles now. And when you go in, the gymnasiums usually be nice. Basketball players, if it's a hoop and a rim and a nice floor, they all for that. You know, besides Alabama State and Perry View and certain other places, the football stadiums are not really just up to par.
Right. Well, look, Teddy, we don't want to hold you.
I can't hear Renard, so
okay. If y'all can hear
Dave, tell me.
Dave, close it out, Dave.
Close it out, Dave.
Well, Teddy, what Renard? Teddy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. What Renard is trying to say is that we don't want to hold you too long, man. We're gonna let you go on with the rest of your night, and we really appreciate you coming through and hanging out with us once again. We wanted to reach out to you, but we just don't want to take up all your night. But you know,
make sure you hold on. Make sure y'all tell congratulations on this kid, man.
He gone. He gone.
Yeah, he gone. He got a newborn.
Okay. He really ain't finna get no sleep tonight.
No,
not at all.
He got a newborn at home. But I mean,
there go Dave again.
No. I think he did. I think he did on purpose. I think on.
Okay.
The biggest takeaway that I kind of wanted to just hit on with Teddy was just, you know, basically as a head coach of a football team, of a college football team, you know, what was his approach? You know, what did he feel like? What was going on? How he planned on handling everything, and I mean, of course, y'all know I know Teddy personally. That's like a brother to me. But just to hear from his coaching perspective, you know, it's crazy. He said, you know, if it was up to him, he wouldn't.
No. And you know, Renaud, I think, you know, I was talking to a lot of people about that.
Hold on one second. Hold on, Ben. Hold on 1 second. We're waiting on Jordan, so just give us 1 second. We wait on our second guest for the night. So hold on 1 second. But go ahead and finish, Ben. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it wasn't for the financial aspect, like you said, they would have canceled this thing months ago. They would have just said it's a wrap, it's done. You know, me personally, that spring thing, like Teddy was saying, it's too much complications when you're trying to say push it to the spring, because he was speaking on it more so from the high school standpoint. But when you look at it from the guys that's juniors and seniors right now that's in college, they got draft grade, that know they got draft grades, like your Trevor Lawrences or your Marvin Wilsons. And you know what I'm saying? You got guys that already know that they are first and second rounders. If you push this to the spring, them guys aren't going to play, because the NFL pretty much said that they're not going to adjust what they do. The draft is still going to be at the end of April. OTAs is still going to start in late May, first part of June. So why would you put the wear and tear on your body in February to April and then think you're going to turn around and be ready to play again in June?
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, all I'm gonna say, that's where the disconnect is gonna come if they decide to play football in the spring. Okay, so and my theory is you'll start in March, maybe
late February, March.
Okay, so we're running. If you do want to run a full tilt schedule, you're probably looking at ending in May, maybe May or June. Then what you gonna do then? What you gonna do then? Because then you got to get back to spring football. I mean, that's spring football, because that's canceled. So you got to get the boys back on campus back in July and the beginning of August to turn right back around and do another season.
Nah.
Well, I just don't think there's gonna be a season. But I mean, I'll just
to me, that's a bit. Either you do it on time like normal, or you don't have it at all. Because that spring thing.
Well, Well, you talk about. I'm not even gonna go with the thing of doing it on time. Here's where I am, because Lord knows I hear it enough and I'm listening enough to it. It's to me, it's not about the on time as more as it is getting it in the fall, in January, and even you might roll into early February just because of the way the NFL is. But if you're talking about doing it in the spring, and this is what I want everybody to understand. Anything and everything you know about college football, anything and everything you know about sports for the last 20, 30 years, just throw it the hell out the window and don't go by that. We are not in any shape, form, or fashion thinking that, we're going to have this season. They're going to try to, if it's an 8-game season, they're going to try to get an 8-game season in. If it's a 6-game season, they're going to try to get it in, because now there's two sides of it. Of course, there's the safety side. The safety side is basically when you're talking about, with COVID-19 and everything that's going on. But then the financial impact. And when I say the financial impact, we're talking about the economic trickle down. Just like Teddy was talking about. Like, I don't think people really understand that colleges are a business. Colleges are not like K through 12 where they have government funding and this and that and this. Colleges are here for a profit. We are here to make money. Right. If you take Alabama and Auburn and you take away their revenue to a school, you already see schools like the University of Akron that are dissolving half of their majors, closing their schools. And this is a D1 school. They're a MAC school, but they're a D1 school. So if you're thinking about how that affects, and think about the D2 and the D3 schools, the D2 schools especially, when you got the CIAA and you got the SEAC and most of your black schools are Division 2 schools. If you got Division 1 group of 5 schools closing down stuff, canceling athletics, Stanford canceling 11 of their 23 scholarship sports, what do you think is going to happen when they don't get that revenue in? When college football, D1 Power 5 football is a $5 billion impact.
Right. And that's I hate to say it this way, but dealing with what Alan Green did, it's kind of looking like he made cuts across the board of 10%. I think that's how much it was. He did 10% across the board. He saved a lot of money by doing that, and a lot of his sports maybe be able to be saved due to the cuts that he made last year. But like you said, it's going to be a lot of universities that's going to suffer because football was your moneymaker. No way. No. You can't explain it. Basketball can make some people money, but not a lot. Football was your money maker. I don't care if it was North Carolina or Duke. North Carolina Duke still had people coming to their football games, and you still had people getting their money. So
it's definitely, man, and
it's gonna be interesting.
It's such a big, like I said, it's such a big trickle down effect. It's not so much about we got to get these kids out here. Now, from if you stepping back from afar, that's what it looks like. But you have to understand, if there's no students on campus, there's no fees being paid, there's no dorms being filled. All this stuff. College is a business. That does not mean that I'm saying that put these kids out there at any means necessary. I'm saying that they're going to do whatever it takes to try to get some type of this money, whether it's the TV money or everything else, because without that, these colleges, these schools can't function. They're going to close. They're going to be a lot of things that you're used to having in college that you're not going to have. Now, the problem is, if y'all see, if I post a lot, I'll say things like, you pay attention. Why I tell people to pay attention is because the reason why the SEAC and the reason why the CIA and the reason why the MEAC are closing is not because they want to, but it's not. It's part of the testing. How much? Think about how many times you've seen LSU, Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Ohio State. How many tests are they pumping out? They pumping out 300-400 tests, and sometimes they're doing it twice a week.
Right. And them schools cannot do that.
They don't for that. Certain schools can't afford this.
They can't afford it.
I mean, it's trippy. It's gonna be trippy. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll, like you said, hurt the big schools, but these small schools, they're gonna have to. I mean, even the Ivy Leagues, they got money just because of their endowment, but they're not gonna pay for that. But, you know what I'm saying?
Moving to the spring, so it's like and I beg of anybody that's listening, or anybody you talk to, please understand. Like I said a few minutes ago, take everything that you ever heard, everything that you ever know about college athletics, and throw it out the window, because we're at that point right now. Look where we are in the world. We don't have leadership. We don't have leadership in the country. We don't have leadership at the state level. We don't have leadership anywhere. They got school systems out here that are on their own. You got teachers that are posting every day talking about how scared they are. You playing with people's lives. So it's like when you're talking about this with money, it seems insignificant, but it's gonna be crazy if some of these other stuff don't happen, man.